The world's richest man, Elon Musk, changing his mind on joining Twitter's board of directors after becoming its largest shareholder, which frees up the billionaire to launch a potential outside bid for complete control of the company. Musk has been critical of Twitter for stifling free speech and has been pitching ways to transform the platform, including a plan to turn Twitter's headquarters into a homeless shelter. Jesse, of all the companies that this guy, who by any objective definition is probably the greatest innovator of our era, why Twitter do you think he would invest his time and want to invest these billions in?
Well, he's on Twitter and he likes it, and he doesn't like where it's headed. So if he owns it, you're not going to be able to rig another election, Harold, and spike a negative story about a Democrat
Should I write
in
that
October.
down too?
Well, you don't need to. You should already know it. Other than that, him owning Twitter's not really going to affect Americans on, day to day. Most Americans aren't on Twitter, and the ones that are don't really tweet. They just listen and then they read. But you can tell how annoyed the Democrats are by how they're reacting so hysterically to this, because Twitter is their own little club, and they get to kick people out of it. And if he gets control of the reins, they're not going to be able to have that juice anymore. And that's what threatens the left the most, losing power in any way.
Harold, can I respond? I think that Jesse is wrong.
I think I want this counter from you right now.
Extremely wrong. It will affect America by affecting journalists, because journalists go to Twitter for their dopamine hit, right? They go there. Our journalists aren't chasing stories anymore. They're chasing likes. And that's what's shaped look what it did to CNN, right? All CNN was trying to do was feed off of what they saw from the loudest voices on Twitter, and it drove their network into the ground. What are we always told? Stay off Twitter. Like, you don't let Twitter influence what you're doing. Or, you can look at it, but don't let it shape your opinions, because if it does, you get more and more extreme, right? What he can do, and he knows it, it's like a patriotic duty. He's going to go in and he's going to kind of detoxify journalism in a weird way. He's going to it's drugged our media, and he's going to take that drug and take it out. He's going to turn it upside down. And what you're going to see is journalists are going to be like, oh my God, I have to report stories now. I have to go and talk to people. Before I used to just go on Twitter.
But won't they still be able to be hacks on Twitter? What's the difference?
Yeah, but you know what? I don't know. I didn't think about it.
Dana, I think that's an interesting point that Greg is making about what this does, what Twitter's impact on free speech and Twitter's impact on journalism. Does he have a point there? And do you think Musk thought about that?
I don't know if you saw last week, the New York Times editor told all of the journalists at the paper, get off of Twitter because you're not chasing the stories that we need you to chase. You're chasing everybody else's likes. Right. So, the New York Times has figured that out. And I think there's less and less activity on Twitter. I find it not as informative as it used to be in terms of, because you used to get at least to get breaking news on there. Now it's just like people with their long opinions and all their threads, and it's just too much. Bloomberg is reporting that there is a day of rest for the staff of Twitter to cope with all of the stress. Okay? I have no time for these Twitter kids. They're the ones who figure out what to push.
Yeah.
Right? They don't have the hashtag thing anymore. They're the ones figuring out trending topics. And that almost always goes against conservatives. Look at the headlines that they use.
Right.
So now they have the mob after them, and I have no sympathy.
Is it a platform for free speech, Judge, and how, someone was talking about, I think it was Bill Bennett last week, saying that he's innovated in space, he's innovated with electric cars. Could what Musk be doing now really help change how the courts and how jurisprudence sees free speech?
See, I believe that he can. And I think, what was the most fascinating to me was when he said he had 9.2% of the shares, and then he was going to go on the board. Then the next day he says, I'm not going on the board. Obviously, because he doesn't want to be controlled by the board. He doesn't want to be limited to 14.2% or 9%, which he would be limited to if he were on the board. Now he can buy as many shares as he wants. He's not limited to, like insider trading or fiduciary responsibilities. I mean, based upon simple things that he's saying, like turning headquarters into a camp for the homeless. I mean, I love everything about this guy. He wants to turn everything upside down. And I think that, and he wants people to be able to pay with Dogecoin. point. I mean, I just think that he is a guy who believes in the First Amendment, and I think he can do it from outside as opposed to being on the board. And I think he can be very, very effective. And, you know, when the Washington Post op-ed called to prevent the wealthy from controlling the media platform, I think that probably irked him. And now he's like, you know what? Now I'm really going after them.
Well, Bezos bought the Washington Post, and so maybe he thinks he needs to have a media organization himself. Up next, a radical climate group encouraging criminal activity to fight global warming.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.